Giovanni Reina, I have to imagine he's going to play fairly significant minutes just because he's one of the best options that Anthony Hudson's got.
Well, maybe we should transition a little bit to the roster because I do have some. I think we already talked about Tyler Adams not being there, and I think that opens up questions about not just Gio, but how other players could best be utilized in a system here. So maybe it's time to transition into that.
So I'll go through the roster here in our traditional style. Position groups, stop me if you want to make a comment. But I will also say, it's important to remember the context of this.
Yep.
They're facing Grenada and El Salvador. And El Salvador by far is the tougher challenge. But even against El Salvador, they're significant favorites. Doesn't mean they're going to win the game. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I'm not suggesting that at all. I think they drew with El Salvador in the Nations League already. Obviously, we know about the draw in El Salvador during World Cup qualifying. So that, these are things to consider. But it's not like they're facing off against Mexico and Canada, right? They're not facing off against the two best teams in CONCACAF. So that's important. All right. So Anthony Hudson has called in a 24-player roster. Also worth pointing out, he could have called in as many players as he wanted. Yeah. Mexico called in 35 players for the Mexican team. That
Julian Araujo, one of them?
Cuco? Why am I blanking on his name? Yeah. Who did you say?
Did they bring Julian Araujo in?
I have not. I think so. Yeah, I think Julian Araujo. I think Julian Araujo, or however.
Now that he's on Barcelona's bench, he's good enough for them, I guess.
Now he's a Barcelona B player, but not actually a Barcelona B player. Now that he's not under the close watch of Chris Klein, he's good enough for Mexico. All right, let's go through this. Goalkeepers: Ethan Horvath, Zach Steffen, Matt Turner, Mr. Dubois.
Chuck, given the fact that MLS got only one representative in all of this, it seems that obviously MLS isn't stopping their season for this window. I think MLS players are always going to be a bit of a premium.
MLS to the Nations League. Screw you, Nations League. So.
Yeah, too, a little bit. Yeah, they definitely don't respect it. I mean, I don't respect it either. I don't understand what it is still to this day. But
no respect for the Nations League.
I think it's not too surprising. Sean Johnson, there could be a conversation, should Sean Johnson be in this trio? I mean, he was at the World Cup. But I think we talk about awkward situations in the dining room. Who's got the more awkward situation, Ricardo Pepi or Zach Steffen? Who's coming in with more chip on their shoulder between those two guys?
Well, I mean, I think Zach Steffen had a much deeper resume to be on a World Cup roster than Ricardo Pepi did.
Yes, starting
at the
despite
time.
Results, and Berhalter's favorite. Chosen.
We'll see how Steffen handles this. I mean, I'm curious if Matt Turner's still the number one, or if
I bet you they both
handles it that way.
I bet you they both
get a game. I
think
that's probably what's going to happen. That's probably what's going to happen.
I think whoever gets the El Salvador game is the one that you should probably think has the leg up right now. But let's be honest, Matt Turner's the number one. Matt Turner is the number one.
Yeah, but he's Arsenal's number two. He's Arsenal's number two, and it just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. He wasn't great in the Europa League. It's a thing. It's a thing.
Whatever. In my mind, he is the leader until he does something on the field that makes him not be. So.
All right. Defender. So real quick, on goalkeepers, there's really nobody else who has a claim to this. You mentioned Sean Johnson already. He's just a veteran guy. MLS isn't stopping. No reason to call him up. Yeah. Gaga's not getting games. He's a project. He's for the future. It's fine. A little
bit surprised me not to bring Gaga, and he's not doing anything else. Why not get him some minutes here? But
he's training at Chelsea, dude. Come on, he's getting some Cobham time or whatever the training.
Turner's training at Arsenal. So.
Well, but you called. What I'm saying is that Gaga is doing something.
I think this echoes what I think. I think most people are pretty happy with this roster overall. But one of the things you are here to say is that we thought it'd be younger. We thought it'd be like the launch of a new 4-year stretch.
I can explain that. I'll get to it in a second. Defenders, or I have a theory about that. Serginho Dest, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Brian Reynolds, Anthony Robinson, Miles Robinson, Joe Scally, Austin Trusty. The thing stands out. Miles, the only MLS player here, but also returned to the national team for him off the injury. Let's see.
The omissions are what's bigger here, and
so let's talk about the inclusions first, and then we'll get to the omissions. Brian Reynolds playing a lot in Belgium and doing well, deserving of this. I mean, I think that depends on what you think of the fullback pool in Europe, because again, no MLS players outside of Miles in this group.
Yeah, from all accounts, he's having a good season in Belgium. I mean, that's the same place that Sam Vines was good enough to get a look here and there. Mark McKenzie playing in Belgium as well. So if it's good enough for those guys, it's good enough for Brian Reynolds. It's good to see Brian Reynolds. Well, go ahead.
Can you name Brian Reynolds' club right off the top of your head? Go.
Westeros, no Westerlo or Westerlo.
Westeros is way cooler than Westerlo. But
Westerlo, is that what it is?
Yeah. Westerlo. I don't know if it's
the only reason I remember, I think, is because it sounds like Westeros. So.
Oh, okay. You're such a nerd. Okay, let's see. What else?
Dest
is not playing. Huh?
It's a pneumatic device. Or numeric. What is it? Mnemonic? Mnemonic device.
They're saying pneumatic device.
Like a drill. Yeah.
Serginho Dest isn't playing and doesn't seem to be in AC Milan's long-term plans, and he's not in Barcelona's plans, but he's still one of the most talented players we have. So, this is just the way things have to be with him.
Yeah, but I think he's on notice. Joe Scally's playing very well for Mönchengladbach. They're bringing Brian Reynolds in as well. They brought 3 right backs into this.
Do you buy the idea of Tim Weah as a fullback? By the way,
fuck no.
Hey, whoa! Well, we curse occasionally on this show.
You flipped off the camera earlier twice.
Wait, hold on. I need
Double
a quick
bird.
poll. I need a quick poll. Is the F-bomb the same as flipping off the camera? Is that true?
It literally means the same thing.
It means it. I didn't say it out loud. Only the video audience.
So it's good. It's good enough for Maverick to conduct international relations, so you can do it. But I can't say the word, I guess.
I mean, I wasn't doing it upside down with the.
But in my defense, you asked me if Tim Weah should play defense. There is no other response.
Look, he's more of a wing back than a full back. But I just
who isn't?
I'm asking. Okay, Austin Trusty here apparently earning him a spot from his club at Birmingham. All right, now the omissions from this place, from the defender group. No EPB, no Chris Richards.
I think EPB was borderline anyway.
No CCV, no Cameron Ka'avitas.
I think Chris Richards was borderline. He's not playing now for Crystal Palace.
No,
I still think he's talented enough that if he was here, you wouldn't bat an eye. But he got 3 or 4 games when their preferred center back duo was not available. And since they've become available, he's the 3rd best center back at Crystal Palace right now in the eyes of Patrick Vieira. So maybe he gets brought in. Because here's the thing. If Miles Robinson is here, why isn't Chris Richards? So there is something there. He's MLS. No other MLS players here. Why is he getting released and coming to camp? I don't know. I feel like if you're talking about a like for like.
My guess on that, by the way, is that Miles Robinson's contract is up at the end of the year, and he wants to test the European waters, and he wants as many caps as he can get to help with potential.
The U.S. national team's job is not to be his.
No, but work. I'm saying he's good enough to be in the national team when he's healthy. Right,
so Atlanta's take him. We want to make money off him. Well, he's for free.
No, he's going to be on a free. Yeah. I'm thinking Atlanta is doing him a solid. They don't have to release him. Well, actually, they do have to release him.
It's interesting. Does Atlanta have a bye next week?
Sorry, my mistake. They do have to release him because it's a FIFA window. So if U.S. Soccer says we want Miles Robinson, Atlanta can't say no. So he can go because, again, he needs caps for potential.
It just is an odd dynamic that no other. I mean, you would think Walker Zimmerman. If Miles Robinson's good,
not a guy going to Europe at the end of the year. But what
that
are you talking
doesn't
about?
Seem to have I don't know. Those are 2 things that are not connected to me.
You don't think that Miles Robinson playing in this team has anything to do with his work permit status down the line? I think it absolutely does.
I just would have thought he had enough caps in 2022 to make it justifiable.
No, he hasn't played in a year. Has it been a year?
I thought it was like summertime when he went out.
He got hurt at the very beginning of the season in 2022. He hasn't played at all for a year.
Okay.
He needs a cap. And again, they could have called up a bunch of MLS players and forced MLS teams to release because of the FIFA window. But of course, this is negotiation. That's Grenada and El Salvador. How serious is this? All that stuff.
Listen, we're talking Chris Richards, but honestly, the biggest omission here is Cameron Carter. Cameron
Ka'avitas. Get it right. Get it right.
I mean, literally, you could make the case that outside of Tim Ream having the most insane season for an American player ever, Cameron Carter is maybe having the best defensive season in quite some time, to the Boca Negra days or anything like that. I mean, he's having a fantastic 2 years at Celtic. How is he not here?
Wrecking the Scottish Premiership. Absolutely.
How is he not here?
I think this has to. Well, okay, I don't know. I don't know why he's not there. I do know that that Hudson said something about, specifically when asked about center backs, that they are trying to manage things with other tournaments and windows coming up in the future. and that maybe CCV is a Gold Cup guy. Maybe there was a negotiation between him and the national team. And do I come in? Do I cross the Atlantic now? All that stuff. I don't know.
Maybe Celtic gave some pushback. I don't know. This is why you need a Bride McBride reaching out to teams and making sure guys are getting released.
Remember that there's nobody doing anything except for Anthony Hudson, and he is an interim guy. He's not supposed to be there. He's not supposed to be the guy with the con. He's not supposed to be in charge. He's been thrust into the he's a coach. I think he's got a decent enough resume, especially with international experience in a couple places. But this is not ideal, and who knows how much of that was a breakdown the ability of the Fed to talk to these teams and figure all this out, because there's essentially one guy doing all that. I mean, he's delegating to a staff, but it's basically just it's a guy with no hand. Jared, he's got no hand.
All that being said, do you expect to see the same center back combo starting both games?
Do I see the same center back combo starting both games? No, I think
it
probably
is, who are you starting on the most important of the two?
The most important game you start probably Ream and Robinson together, I would guess.
I would say so. I mean, in Miles Robinson, you have someone that can make up for the speed but the problem is they've both played left center back in the past for the U.S. national team. I don't think that's a big deal, but that is where Miles Robinson was in Penn before Tim Ream came around.
McKenzie's played on the right side of a center back pairing. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it matters a whole lot. But
I just hope we get to see Austin Trusty at some point.
The two best center backs are Tim Ream and Miles Robinson. Are you surprised at all? And maybe this is the swan song or whatever, but are you surprised at all that 35-year-old Tim Ream is still here and that there's not this is what you meant by going younger, right?
No, because we have a Copa America in a year from now. So I think it's not outside the realm of possibility that Tim Ream is still performing at this level 1 year from now. And if he is, he gives you the best chance to be competitive at the Copa America. If this Tim Ream is still here next summer, he gives you the best chance.
I really hope, I hope Tim Ream's playing at this level next summer, but I also hope that we have three other guys who are playing at a similar level to Tim Ream come next summer, because otherwise...
And who on this list can't learn from Tim Ream? Who on this list can't learn from Tim Ream? You bring this guy in.
That's fair.
You see not just the player he's being at Fulham, you see the human being that he's being at Fulham, like walking out with the headphones for the person. He's just a good human being.
I'm not sure that there's a ton of consistent logic. I mean, when people are frustrated by Berhalter's call-ups, Hudson, again, what is his skin in the game other than to make himself look pretty decent for a couple of more games and maybe another window down the line before the U.S. goes out and gets an actual head coach? Legacy, I mean, sure, but what I'm saying is, the only reason for Anthony Hudson to care is to help him get his next job. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't care about the program and that kumbaya, we're all in this together. I was on Greg's staff at the World Cup. I love these guys kind of way. But I'm saying for him as a coach, if he doesn't have long-term stability, if he can't look past the summer with having the job, what is his end game here, right?
You make it sound like because he doesn't have longevity or a guarantee that he doesn't care about where the system's going. He's being paid to care.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't go 100% young, experimental with these two games. I mean, again, they're consequential games on paper, so there's that. But you don't do that if you care at all about how you're going to look when you are looking for your next job. So if Andy Hudson had some stability and had a contract that took him through next year or the year after, whatever, and I'm not saying we want that, but if he did, he would go younger with this group. He might not have called Tim Ream. He might have said...
Can he do any results between now and the summer that would get him this job? With any string of results? I don't think so either.
No.
So I think that ship is sailed.
I mean, he's on a free roll. I do think there's that. He's playing free here, but it's also still, what is the psychology of it when you can't look past the summer, that you're only focused. And I don't know about Gold Cup. I don't know.